and welcome to the Jeff Ahern Show. Good to see you all. Hope you're all having a great week. Wow, what a week it's been. Well, at least this election is over, and now we're already on to the next one. The dust has barely settled on this election, and already, we're talking about, okay, well, now who's going to run for president? And Biden's, I'm probably, hey man, I'm probably gonna run, even though nobody in the party wants me to run. It's staggering disbelief is the only way I can describe what happened. There was like a piece, and I think it said, God, was it like he had a Biden, and I may mess this up, but Biden had a better turn in midterms than I think either Obama or Trump, or Obama and the fact that he was better than anyone, the fact that Biden somehow beat two other presidents in being able to maintain his number of Democrat senators and congressional people is just off the charts insane. He's like one of the worst presidents we've ever had. And even liberals who voted Democrat, I mean, none of them want him. They don't. They're already like, oh, how can we get him out? How can we convince him not to run? And I'm not talking about just liberal voters who are quiet about it, but I think that, but I'm talking about the actual, liberal elites, politicians, Democrat politicians who've talked to him and said, hey man, maybe you should let somebody else run. And so no one is pumped up about this guy. But what happened was, and I think it's pretty obvious here, and I'm already taking heat for saying it, it wasn't a referendum on Biden. It wasn't a referendum on the horrible state of the economy that's going into a recession. It really already is if you look at the economic numbers. It wasn't a referendum on crime. It wasn't a referendum on the wide open border. It wasn't a referendum on inflation, high gas price. I mean, the list goes on and on. It was a referendum on Trump. Again, referendum on Trump. People, specifically Democrats, each and every one of them, each and every one of you, if you're out there, do not like him. They don't care for the man. And so it doesn't matter who you put up against him, who's associated with him. They will all in lockstep get up, go through their crime-ridden streets, try to avoid the gunfire, maybe buy some very expensive gas to get to the polling station, and vote against Trump. Well, at least that's what they think they're doing. They're voting obviously against themselves. They go, here's a gun. Would you like to shoot yourself in the foot? And they go, yeah, I think I would. And they pulled the trigger, and that trigger is a Democrat lever. And obviously I'm making that up because Democrats, for some reason, very much don't vote in person. A lot of mail-in ballots. And let's talk a little bit about the mail-in ballots. It's just the reason that there's so much distrust right now in the electoral process is really the whole mail-in balloting system. When there's a physical person, you see a physical person, and they go up and they vote. I mean, you're like, okay, well, that's the guy. He's voting. I could check his ID. At least I should be able to. But obviously, in some, that's a whole other issue, right? That's racist now. Everything else that you need an ID for isn't racist. Whether you're picking up tickets to your Democrat Party convention, whether you're walking in the door of a company. A lot of them, you're trying to buzz in someplace, you're got to show an ID. I went to last game. I went to a will call window. I had to show an ID. Then I just and that's for a ticket for some dumb concert. That's not for an elected official. But again, somehow it's racist when it comes to voting, and it isn't. It just makes it easier to cheat if you don't check ID. But that being said, that's not really an issue anymore because now Democrats and I don't, are taking full advantage of this whole voting mail-in ballot system. And I know they're kicking themselves. They didn't figure out how to do this sooner. So it's not an issue in situations where you've got a definitive winner, where you've got someone who is just way out in front of the other candidate. But in these divisive times, when half the country seems to go one way and half the country seems to go the other, it's an issue. Like you look at Nevada right now, really, really tight race. What's happening now? The mail-in ballots are coming in. The Republican who's ahead for the Senate in this situation is starting to lose ground. And it becomes an issue because when the races are that tight, and it's not incredibly difficult to cheat with mail-in balloting. I mean, the Democrats, again, always trying to loosen the restrictions. Why do you want to loosen the restrictions? Obviously, because it makes it easier to cheat. If you didn't want to cheat, if you didn't want that to be a possibility, you would tighten the restrictions. So, things like, you don't need to date this, if it's close enough, you don't even have to have anyone sign for it. You can have someone else drop it off. They're all going to come at once. You can have ballot harvesting. People just come pick them up. And so it becomes this system where, especially with ballot harvesting, where people just go out into the community and tell people, they're not supposed to. And I'm sure they're going to say it doesn't happen, but basically tell you, all right, this is who you're voting for. Here, let me just check the boxes, and you just sign it. Thank you. And then they get in their car and they go to the next place. And then they go to a drop box or whatever, and they just drop them all in there. So technically, it's sort of legal, but not. But when you get to these situations where you're so tight, we are even just throwing them away, this is a pretty heavy Republican community. Maybe, this postman just wants to not deliver, 10, 20. Doesn't sound like a lot, but you have, other people doing that here and there, or these things getting lost, dropped, disqualified. You have an issue. So when you're in a place like right now, I'm saying Nevada because the Senate is so close. I think the difference right now between the Republican and Democrat there is 3,000 or 2,000 votes. It's tight. So it creates a distrust in the system. So how do you fix that? I think rather than loosening the standards, you increase them. I mean, when I was overseas and when I traveled, then you would get a mail-in ballot, and that was usually who used it. But now it became a way for Democrats to win elections, and I hate to say it, in these tight races, to steal them. And that's just it. And the other side's true too. Republicans, if they start using Democrat tactics, shall we say, can do a similar thing. So when you increase the stringency or the qualifications for a mail-in ballot, it's not just a hit on the Democrats. It affects both parties equally. And what it does, it affects them in terms of fairness. It has to be a fair game. So all that out of the way, that's a small issue, but it's still a big issue because it could affect control of the Senate. The bigger issue is Trump. And I did a story on this for Rumble, and I knew I was going to get hit on it, but I had to say it. And it's got, I think it's got like 50 some odd thousand views already there. And it's censored everywhere else because, that's that YouTube, they censor stuff. I was like, I would figure they wouldn't censor this one, but they did. TikTok. Oh my God. TikTok took 2 more down for community standards violations, which again is just simply having my own viewpoint and not being an utter leftist and in lockstep with the narrative. So even though, we're making ground, like say, Elon Musk having control of Twitter, and opening that up, making it a more open platform, the fix is still in on all the other ones. But as time goes on and they start losing market share to more open platforms, that'll change. But currently, no. But my thesis, my speech on Trump, and I feel like it's good. Check it out on Rumble if you can, because I wrote it out, and so I'll leave stuff out here. But it's basically this: it's just that he's not doing it. He's having the opposite effect of what you want, and that is that these Democrat voters, they've been conditioned by the media for 4 years straight, 5 years really at this point, maybe even longer than that. That the man is the devil, that he's cloven hooves, and a pitchfork, and breathes fire, and eats children. I mean, you name it. He's been turned into like this Frankenstein's monster by the leftist media. But 4 years straight, the whole Russian collusion thing that was made up. None of it was true, but it didn't matter. And every day, every minute, every moment, they would pound on the man and made his life hell, and literally in a Pavlovian style, made like everyone watching, at least the gullible Democrats, at the very mention of his name, just start salivating for his blood, just like, Trump, so, and that's what's happening. So for me, the obvious solution is you've got Ron DeSantis in Florida. Now, DeSantis is killing it. He's been killing it. How is he doing it? Well, first off, the media's been distracted attacking Trump nonstop. They're now moving to DeSantis. He's their new target because they know what's going on. And so you got DeSantis, who just killing it in Florida because he did the exact opposite. Whatever Joe Biden did, he did the exact opposite. So what are the results of that? The results are a massive red wave, and it was unfortunately just limited to Florida, but a massive red wave in Florida, where you have people who are like, wow, things are great here. He didn't shut down the economy. He didn't have these mask mandates. He was against the vaccine mandates. He's against CRT. He's for a strong border. He kept the state open when he should have kept the state open. And so it's thriving. People are moving to Florida because it's still thriving. It wasn't shut down and businesses put out of business and now they got to rebuild. No, none of that happened because he actually followed the science. Anything that Biden did, I think for the most part, like 99% of the time, he whatever it was, he did the opposite. And by doing that, created just this amazing business environment in Florida and this just amazing, really place to live. And if you're like, no, it's not that great. Well, why is everybody moving there? Why are people leaving their Democrat-run cities, to move there and then, try and ruin Florida? It's because he's doing something really good. He's doing something really good. So with him, I feel like we've got a great chance. If Trump had laid low this election, the Democrats still would have tried to make it about Trump. I mean, that's what they do. Why do they try and make it about Trump? Because they know there's this visceral response among their voters and among a lot of independents against Trump. And is it fair? No, it's not fair at all. It's completely unfair. The man doesn't deserve it, but he's been villainized. I mean, you villainize someone day in, day out, minute by minute, every time you turn on the news. If you're watching CNN or MSNBC, that's all you're watching, and so, it's just in your head. So it is what it is. And it's not great for him. But if we really actually want to win and have a red wave and take the presidency, I mean, we're talking about Joe Biden. Like Trump, Biden, it's a repeat. It's just a do-over. And again, you get back to these questionable mail-in ballots when things are tight, when things are close. And I feel like you're going to have a very similar outcome. I mean, Biden. And again, a lot of this too, in the Senate, in terms of the Senate, it was Republicans' fault. You can't blame the Democrats even cheating for some of this. You're putting up candidates we're putting up candidates that aren't strong. They're not strong. You look at Dr. Oz. Come on, Dr. Oz. Really? I know people who live in Pennsylvania and they're like, yeah, I'm going to vote for him, but they weren't like excited about him. They weren't like, oh, Dr. Oz. You don't even have to be excited about the guy. You could be lukewarm about him. No one was even lukewarm about it. They're like, his big claim to fame was he wasn't Fetterman. Well, who are you going to vote for? Dr. Oz. Why? He's not Fetterman. You need more in a candidate. You got to be able to find somebody. And again, that Trump takes a hit on that. He was a big supporter of Oz. And then even Walker. I mean, Walker still has a shot against Warnock, but again, it's the whole voting system there. Again, it's just like with the mail-in ballots, and I don't know. I want to stay positive and optimistic, and I hope he can win it. But at the end of the day, I feel like we probably could have a stronger candidate than Walker. It's not that he's bad, but I mean, he's a running back, UFC fighter. I don't want to hold that against him, but I don't know. I feel like we can do a better job of getting candidates from the beginning, and I hope Walker wins. I mean, he's definitely better than Warnock. Oz would have definitely been better than Fetterman, but you need a reason for people to get excited, to get passionate, not simply to vote against something, but to vote for something. And with Walker and with Oz, you're not voting for something. You're not passionate about something. You're just voting against something. And that's true of the Democrats. True. They're not, I don't know that they're necessarily positive about the candidates. They're voting against something. So right now as a country, we're not voting for things. We're voting against them and divvying up sides. And again, it goes back to Trump. Democrats vote against Trump all the time, and the independents vote against Trump all the time. I don't see that swinging. DeSantis, people vote for DeSantis. That's why there was a red wave in Florida. They're excited about him. They're passionate about him, as they should be. The man, he's killing it. I mean, he is killing it. Now, we have a corrupt media. That's a given. But people are pretty much aware at this point that they are corrupt, even Democrats. They know they're, yeah, all right, yay, rah, rah, Democrats. That's what we're watching over here. But with DeSantis, with your swing voters, I feel like people are going to be excited about him because look at what he's doing there. And the media will immediately go into villainization mode. they will immediately go into character assassination mode because, now technically the presidential campaign has already begun, although it, hasn't. It has. And I'm already starting to see, hit pieces on him. And I was before for the same reason. They knew he was an up and comer. And I feel like he's arrived at this point. I feel like he should be the new face of the Republican Party if we want to win. If not, then we can, nothing against Trump, but we're not going to win with Trump. We're not going to win. Or let's say by some miracle, we squeak by, we win with Trump. We barely make it. There's this lawsuit, that lawsuit, this state, that state. We barely make it. We're in the same morass that we were before. We're in the same quagmire because no one hates Trump more than the media. And the media will just, they're gullible, liberal devotees will just be like, yeah. We're in the same mess we were in before. And that's why I'm just hoping that Trump, I don't know that he can because it's not in his nature, but I hope that Trump can take a step back, look at the big picture, and let DeSantis go. Let DeSantis have his, let it be DeSantis' time. Because I think it is. I mean, you can, and a lot of people are like, it's not his time yet. Let him wait some more. Do you want to win? Do you want to win? It comes down to that. I want to win. I want the country to get better. I want to vote for, we're screwed right now a little bit. We have a chance if we take the House, which hopefully we will. But we should have easily taken the House. The Senate was always a question for me because I just didn't think our candidates were that strong for the Senate. But we should have easily the House should be over. We should have that. Hopefully we will take the House. And if that happens, hopefully it will, then we have a chance to counter or blunt the insanity of the leftist policies coming our way. But if we don't, boy, it's going to get even worse. The thing is, if we run Trump again, it doesn't matter. Democrats have proven time and time again, they will put up with anything. They have no bottom. It doesn't matter how crime-ridden their communities are. Doesn't matter how high inflation is. Doesn't matter. None of it matters. They are just like Democrat. It's like, well, your communities have been Democrat run for 20, 30, 40 years, and they keep getting worse every single year. Who's the only party in charge? Obviously, the Democrat Party. Who are you going to vote for the next election? A logical person would say, I'm going to vote for somebody else, a different party. They've ruined this city. Not a Democrat. I'm going to vote Democrat. How do you counter that? Well, you got to have passion. You got to have somebody people can get excited about. Somebody people can vote for and not against. So that's what we need, and that's what DeSantis is. Let me check out the news real quick. Oregon. We did the governor races. We did poorly. At least the ultra liberal duds, Beto, 3-time loser Beto, and Stacey Abrams, they both lost. It was like some consolation, but still not nearly enough. Let's see. It's on Fox News. Side topic here. In on the joke, it says Dave Chappelle appears to address SNL dramas. So the writers on SNL are reportedly planning a boycott because Dave Chappelle is going to host the show. First off, good. Have you seen SNL lately in the last few years? Decades, really? It's not particularly good. It's not funny. Even if you're a liberal, it's not. You're watching and you're just going, I think I'm supposed to like this. But it's terrible because SNL used to be about satirizing, and satirizing includes, the whole gamut. It's not just one side, and it became one-sided. SNL has never had a better opportunity to be funny than right now for the last 2 years with Joe Biden as president. He is a comic gold mine of gaffes and just idiocy and buffoonery, but they can't touch him. They're kind of starting to just nibble on him a little bit, but they're not allowed to touch him because he's a Democrat, because then they'll be canceled. They won't get future writing jobs. This is how it works. And yet there he is, this gold mine, this giant gold nugget of satirical, hysterical, just imbecility. And they can't touch him. Hands off. They got to just look at it. Although some of them, they're so liberal, probably, oh no, I can't. No, must swear off him. He's the forbidden fruit of the Democrats. You cannot pull that apple down to make fun of it and kick it around a little bit. So Dave Chappelle's going to be there. The SNL writers are boycotting. Good. Chappelle could do an hour on just do some stand-up for an hour and a half, and the ratings, like, just say, hey, the writers left, please, Dave, do this if you're listening. The writers aren't doing the show this week. So you know what? Instead of doing SNL, which would have sucked anyways, and you wouldn't have even enjoyed it, I'm going to do an hour and a half live stand-up special, an hour and a half. The ratings would be off the charts. They would be so people who love Chappelle, I'm included in that category, would watch because he's like, yeah, the writers quit. I want to enjoy this. And then people who hate Chappelle would watch so they could write down stuff to be offended by and try and cancel him with the next time. And it didn't work. Why? Because Chappelle's brilliant. He's a comedic genius. Chappelle is in that rare air of comedian where he's just so funny, so insightful, and just calls stuff out. That's what he does. He calls stuff out in a very funny way. And you can't call stuff out in today's society. You're not allowed to. Or you get canceled, assuming if you call out idiocy, if you call out people being stupid, if you call out absurdity, and why did the leftists get so upset about that? Because that's their wheelhouse. That's their whole thing. So yeah, please, if you're listening to Dave Chappelle, to heck with the writers, do an hour and a half stand-up special, do it live, do it there at 30 Rock. You should do it at Saturday Night Live and just crush the ratings. And be like, hey, writers, yeah, I really missed you. Yeah, thanks. Because, now that I've said that and I've thought about like Chappelle just doing a special, and I think about, now I would have to watch SNL and their lame sketches. Oh, what a downer that would be, huh? Yeah, that's terrible. That's terrible now. Oh, yeah, I love Chappelle. And yeah, I listen to him. And there's all this LGBT anger at him. He's just talking straight. If you're upset by Chappelle and you have not watched him, you have not even seen the special, then just shut up. He's brilliant. He's funny. He's just calling stuff out. Oh, thank God for people like him. Thank God for people at his level who can survive being canceled, And like there was a theater recently that got all woke on him, like, oh, we're not going to show him, like 11th Hour, we're not going to show him because he said this LGBT thing or that. And again, none of it was offensive. He just spoke truth. And so Chappelle's like, all right, he went to another theater next door and sold that one out. Good. Yeah, is SNL really got even another year left in them? These writers are going to be out of a job next year. So yeah. Good call there. That's a show that needs to go. It's needed to go. Here we go. There's a nice picture of DeSantis, and it says unhinged. CB. Oh my God. Wow. This is so crazy. So like we talk about how the mainstream media is just completely leftist. They're the PR department for the Democrats. Now even their shows are attacking political candidates, at least according to this article, and I believe it. I'm sure it's true. CBS show finale, so this is a TV show, has character accused DeSantis of being sex offender. So I guess that's in the show. Like they're like, well, we can't make it in real life, so let's make it in make-believe. And then our voters are so stupid they'll believe it because they saw it on CSI or something. They're not wrong. That's the sad part. They're supposed to be like, hey, you hear DeSantis is a sex offender? I saw it on one of them TV shows, one of them documentaries. You sure that wasn't like CSI or something? No, documentary. I don't know what the show is. So it's on CBS. No one's watching it anyways. All right. So yeah, but the character assassination is now in full swing on DeSantis. That is what they do. They assassinate your character because they cannot compete in the realm of ideas. They cannot compete. They just cannot compete. And yet somehow they are still in charge. Why are they still in charge? In terms of, I feel like they're probably still going to get the Senate. Our best bet really is in Nevada, and that's why I'm so concerned about the voting irregularities there, and just the whole mail-in ballot system when an election is this tight. They will find, you know what I mean? They will find the 1,000 or so mail-in ballots that they need to win. Somewhere right now, someone is out finding those ballots. Now, that's not an issue if you have a decisive victory, but we're not in those times right now. We are in a very divided nation. And again, we need someone who people can be passionate about and vote for, rather than simply voting against the opponent or the other person. And for Democrats, the opponent is never the person running. It's Donald Trump. I mean, occasionally it's a person running, but for the most part, it's Donald Trump. And that's something we, unfortunately, we have to, as a party, we have to shed. We have to find. I'll leave it at this because I keep repeating it, but it's that important. I don't see us winning in 2024 unless we shift gears here, unless we go all in on DeSantis. That's it. That's my opinion on it. But let's keep going. Here we go. Detransition teen. So she was transitioned, or he was transitioned, then they went the other way, went back and forward. A teenager, by the way. So again, probably shouldn't have been transitioned in the first place. Teenager. Well, I don't trust my teenager to do anything. And oh yeah, you want to go transition stuff? Yeah, have at it. But if I do that, I'm like, so you have to respect it. It's a teenager. Go in at least get into your 20s, and then you want to go do that. Yeah, have a nice time, whatever. But a teenager, no. And Democrats are giving these transitioning books out as young as kindergarten age. I'm not making that up. I did a story about that. This is the left. This is the left, and yet they continue to win elections. It's maddening to me. I don't get it. It's insanity. It's insanity. And you're like, what is going on in this country? What is going on in people's minds that this is okay? It's not. And I'm tired of sitting here just nodding, like, oh yeah, it's fine. It's not. It's not fine. You transitioning or encouraging your kid to transition to be woke? What the hell? Anyway, detransition teen wants to hold gender affirming surgeons accountable. I don't know about that. Well, here's the thing. The surgeons, did the surgeons really do it? I mean, the surgeons performed the surgery. Did they affirm it? Did they say, yeah, that's fine, you can do it? I mean, maybe they just went to the doctors and they're like, I want to transition. And then the doctors, here's the doctors. The doctors are not allowed, really, in this day and age, aren't allowed to even question it. They're not allowed to. The hospital, they'll get canceled. They'll get thrown out of their medical practice for being transphobic, for not performing your surgery. Now, this is a teenager. Again, it's a dopey teen. And so they do these things. So at the time, I mean, I think he or she has a point. I think someone should have stood up to her or him or whatever and said, no, wait till you're 20. You don't know what you're doing now. You're a teenager. You're an idiot. You'll be an idiot in your 20s. Really, you should wait till you're 30. It's about the time you start actually getting some common sense. We're not going to do this right now. Get the hell out of the office. That's what you should say. But then you're like transphobic, and then your picketers show up at your hospital. You get fired because they need a scapegoat, and then hey, from now on, someone comes in and wants to be a boy or girl, you just chop them up. That's what you're doing. That's what you're doing. I saw Jordan Peterson. He's terrific. If you can see him, see him. He's just like I already going in. I love the guy, and after seeing him, I was like, wow, just terrific, just a terrific speaker. And he made a great point. He said, if it's not he's a psychiatrist or doctor. He said, as a doctor, it's your due diligence, it's your duty to as a therapist to question your patient's decisions. And what's going on now is you're not allowed to do that. Like if they come in with I'm a woman, or I'm a man in a woman's body, or a woman in a man's body, you just have to nod and say, okay. That's not that's not therapy. That's just yes-anding. Okay. That would be like, and I'm butchering what he said, but this was basically the gist of it. That'll be like a schizophrenic or someone coming in and going, I'm the president of the United States. And you go, okay. And you're affirming it. No, that's not your job. Your job as a therapist is to dig in and be like, okay, well, let's talk about this a little bit. Why do you feel that way? So you're questioning, you're hopefully getting the patient to come to the realization that maybe they're not the president of the United States. Now, obviously, that's an extreme. Now, with gender issues, it's kind of the same thing, though. Maybe you're not. Maybe you're feeling this way because of this. Maybe you're feeling that way. You want them to analyze this. You want to help them analyze it so they can make a proper decision. You want them to just come in and then they tell you something. You're like, okay, yeah, sure. Let's just do it. Go get the surgery. Because right now, that's what they have to do. They're not allowed to question any of that because that's transphobic. They just have to simply carte blanche say, okay, yeah, that's the way it is. I mean, why do you even need a therapist at that point? Just for someone to nod their head and go, okay, that'll be $200. It doesn't make any sense. But again, the world we live in, the times we live in, even the practice of therapy is kind of going by the wayside, because you just have to accept whatever anyone feels that they are without question. And so you get situations like this where people transition, they detransition, and they're like, why the hell did you let me do that? I'm a teenager. Who the hell lets a teenager make that? Well, you got parents now, these woke liberal parents, who are like encouraging their 8, 9, 10-year-olds to think about this crap. And for what? For woke points. Oh, my little girl's gonna be a boy now, and she's so excited. Look at me, how woke I am. That's what it is. This narcissistic obsession with self and promotion. And they see nothing wrong with it. I'm being woke. It's so wonderful. Look at me. It's like, no, this is a child being apparently parented by a child. You don't make them, let them make that decision, or you even drift them into that, encourage them to make that decision. Let them grow up. Let them wrestle with some stuff. And then, again, wait till their 20s, ideally 30s, because I still think you're an idiot in your 20s. Most people, mid-20s maybe at best. But you shouldn't be making those kind of decisions. You have no idea what life is. You have no idea what you're doing. And then you got these, unfortunately, these guideposts who are your woke parents, or maybe you just don't have a good family structure. And so you're left to drift. I almost think it's better if you're left to drift than if you have these like really woke parents, because they're guiding you and directing you into this woke horse crap. That's what it is. That's what it is. All right. Let me keep going here. But yeah, so I'm sorry for this person that there wasn't an adult in the room, whether it be a physician, a parent, or someone else, to say, hey, hold off on this. You're too young to make this decision. You're gay, you're lesbian. Okay, let that be what that is. And then, but before you start chopping yourself up, literally chopping yourself up, let's take a step back and wait till you're 20, 21. How about 21, right? To drink. I got to be 21 to get a beer, but if I want to lop my wiener off, I can do that these days pretty much anytime I want. Or, the chemical version of that, hormone blocking, that's done. Yeah. What is going on? What the hell is going on? Honestly. All right, let me check the post. Oh my God. Yeah, it's just, you just think about this stuff and you're like, how is this even possible? How can people be this stupid? And then if you don't go along, you get canceled. You get algorithmed out of existence. Like, that's why please, if you haven't, follow me on Rumble. I'm there all the time now. And they're great to me there. I love them. And yeah, I'm actually not censored there. Like YouTube, I'm censored. Everywhere I'm censored, but there. And ideally, join me on jeffahern.com, because that actually, helps me out financially too. But I love Rumble. Gallagher died. And remember Gallagher? This is on the post. I like Gallagher. I met him once at Flappers Comedy Club in Burbank. Really sweet guy. Really nice guy. Very funny comedian. Growing up in the 80s, the Gallagher shows, and you put on the tarps and he just smashed stuff in front of you. But yeah, sweet guy, and R.I.P. He was a good dude. I don't know if we agree politically, but it really doesn't matter. Again, that's a Republican, or maybe an independent. If someone is hurt or injured, or something bad happens, you don't first check their party affiliation to see if you should be upset. It's pretty telling, which party you want to be on. But I don't want to state the obvious. Biden says sorry in Egypt. Well, Biden should say sorry every day. For Trump climate move after trio. Again, trio of gaffes. So that's 3 gaffes, right? That's a trio. None of those can be covered by SNL. Whatever those gaffes were, probably hysterical, each one in its own right. Remember Jerry Ford? Probably not. He's pretty old, 70s president. But he was a klutz. He was a notorious klutz. And so they would always make fun of him. I think Chevy Chase would fall on the stairs, whatever. And so they embraced it, and they had fun, and it was funny. You can't do any of that with Biden. He's hands off. Again, although they are starting to nibble just a slight bit. And that's intentional too. With the amount that they're allowed to attack Biden is in direct proportion of whoever actually is control of the Democrat Party. And it's definitely not Biden, is allowing them to do. And they're doing that because none of them want Biden to run. They don't. They don't want Biden to run. They don't really even want him to be president. It was kind of what the hell are we going to do? I don't know. Biden. All right. And so they can't, they have to walk that fine line of kind of belittling him enough to maybe get him to quit, but not so aggressively that it would have hurt him in the midterms. But now that the midterms are over, I think they're going to go a little more aggressively on trying to, cajole Biden out so they can get a different candidate in that position. And definitely not Kamala Harris. She's a train wreck. At least Biden has an excuse, Biden, the guy's got dementia. I mean, he does. And again, where's that cognitive test, Joe? Yeah, that's what I thought. All right. Trump voters say, this is from the Post, say they're done with ex-president after red ripple in midterms. Yes and no. Yes and no. I feel like, I've been talking about the whole thing. They're right. We need new blood. We need DeSantis in there. But I don't know that Trump voters are done with him. I'm not from the reactions I've seen to the video I put up. They're very loyal, and I get it. I just don't think we can win with him. So I don't know that they're done with him yet. I think it's a process, and maybe in the next 2-3 months, maybe it'll happen. It'll shake out, but it's not like a done deal yet. It's not. It's still very much in the process. Okay, let's check out Yahoo. So it's a pretty liberal site. Basically, all of them are, right, these days. And then we'll hit CNN. I know they're going to be happy. They, of course, as they should be. The Democrats, it's just, again, so shocking, the results of this. It's shocking because as bad as things are, I just didn't understand the hatred of Trump until the level of it. I mean, I knew it was there, but that here we are 2 years later and people still can't get him out of their head. He's not even, running. But they all feel like when they vote against a Republican, they're voting against Trump. And so that's what they do. All right. Trump's angry at some governor. All right. McCarthy, House Speaker, bid looks to be in jeopardy. Okay. And really not too much here. I'm surprised. They're not as aggressively covering the election as I thought they would. It just says voters at the Banner headline is votes are still being counted in crucial Senate and House races. I guess it's just they literally don't know what's going on either. All I know is I think right now mail-in ballots are being found. And that is why there's so few people, or less and less people, have faith in the electoral process, because we feel like the fix is in. And I feel like in some situations when a race is tight, I feel like the fix is in. I feel, I just do. My instinct tells me that. All right, here's CNN. We'll close up with CNN. Yeah, and again, these are liberal sites. So when they say McCarthy faces rocky road, or that McCarthy's not this or that, if it's a liberal site, again, you have to immediately question whatever the headline is. I usually assume the opposite and work from that angle, and then I have to cross reference and to come to the truth. But yeah, they tend to snip it and just tell you a narrative rather than actual news, or what they want you to believe rather than what is actually true. As Trump moves towards another presidential run, his divided family gathers in Florida. Well, they want Trump to run. Make no mistake about it. I mean, because especially after these midterms and the results of the midterms, they got to feel really good if Trump runs again. They have to feel really good about that. I mean, Biden is president, and somehow we didn't take the House or Senate. We may take the House, but not really in a very authoritative fashion. Like just grasping at straws, barely getting the House when we should have just blown it out. All right. McCarthy. Yeah, they're coming down to McCarthy a lot. So I guess they really don't like him. So if they don't like him somehow, now all of a sudden I'm a big fan. Anytime they're against someone, anytime they're like, oh, this person is terrible. You shouldn't like them. They're awful. I automatically think, wow, I think I should probably really like this person a lot, because they don't. And that's usually pretty telling, isn't it? Because they have, again, there's this is 3 or 4 different hit pieces on him just on this one page. What are they so nervous about this guy for? So McCarthy, California Republican plan to secure. Okay, yeah. Talking about getting to that 218 in the House, which we should have already. Yeah. Oh, man, there's nothing really exciting here. What student loan borrowers need to know after federal court struck down Biden's forgiveness program. Well, what you need to know is we can't keep printing money and have inflation go down. That's number one. Number two, you should try and pay your debts. Number three, it's not really fair that people who have actually paid for their college, who have worked hard to pay for their college, whose family have paid back the loans for their college, should just be hung out to dry for doing the right thing. Also, that you shouldn't maybe go to colleges you can't afford. It's just common sense stuff. It's like you took out a loan, pay it back. I got into a lot of schools when I graduated high school. I went to the University of Connecticut. It was a state school. I went there because I could afford it. I could have gone to, I got into every school I applied at. And they were back then, it's the 90s, early 90s. They were 20 to 40 grand a semester. I couldn't afford that. I could have taken out student loans, but I chose not to, because even then I was a dope back then, but even then I was like, I don't want to be saddled with all this student debt for what? So I went to UConn, much less expensive, in-state tuition. And, it was fine. It was great. I enjoyed it. And I got, I guess, what I needed to out of it. It wasn't as insanely liberal as it was now. Like now I feel like if I went there, because it's pretty liberal from what I'm hearing now, I feel like whatever money I was paying would have been a waste, because I'd just be paying for an indoctrination at this point. College is, again, like what are you really teaching your kids when you send them to college? I mean, they can get all this stuff for free from watching CNN. So why? Well, I've been going on for a bit, but I've enjoyed it. It's been cathartic. Sometimes I'm covering the news. This is, I think, like more catharsis for me, just kind of letting it all out with this election, and just the utter shock and just stupefaction, if you will, of people just who continue to be willing to vote to get shot in the foot, or to have high crime, poverty, wide open borders, to watch things get worse. But the realization that the reason for that is they just hate Donald Trump that much that they can't seem to vote for Republican, because they have this association that if you vote for Republican, you're voting for Trump. And that's why we need a new leader. And that's why I think DeSantis is the man. I know DeSantis is the man. Look at Florida. The only red wave was Florida. Who runs Florida? Ron DeSantis. So that's kind of it. All right. Hey, thank you, everyone. God bless. Have a great week. And hopefully when I come back next week, we'll have at least won the House, claw our way to the House. Ideally, we'll have won at least the Senate seat in Nevada. But again, with mail-in voting, I think they're going to find the ballot somewhere to put the Democrat over the top. All right. Thank you. God bless. Have a great week. Stay strong, and DeSantis 2024. Bye. Hello and welcome to Newsday with Jeff Ahern. Oh, my back.
Just really quickly, you're back, but that was the Angry Geeks. That's one of the other shows that we have on the network. And of course, they were a part of a event that also featured those great MASH actors and all of that. So that actually just took place this past weekend, but they do air regularly on the network. I believe that one is actually on Saturdays, that particular show. And by the way, you can now be caught, Jeff, on podtv.tv. So it's not just on Amazon and Roku, but it's also on podtv.tv. So folks and your friends, you can tell them that they can actually go to the website and catch it as well. And that being said, I'm going to go out with one of your terrifying liberals clips and all of that, and then we'll get on out of here with that and get us on out of here. Even though you probably think that I'm one of those terrified liberals, but we're going to let you get on out of here.
Far from terrifying. You're jovial. Hello and welcome to Newsday with Jeff Ahern. I'm your host, Jeff Ahern. Today's top story: Generation Z, a generation made so fragile they make eggshells look like forged steel, now want to cancel your keyboards, or at least the emojis on them.
At this point, they should just make a list of the things that don't offend them. It would be a lot shorter. Generation Z includes people born between the mid to late 1990s and early 2010s. A generation that has grown up with technology, but clearly not with testicles. Remember when real men stormed the beaches of Normandy? In the same situation today, Gen Zers would just have started learning German. I'm amazed any of you can walk on two legs without the support of a spine. And if I'm a little angry at Gen Zers, it's because one of the emojis on their hit list is my all-time favorite, the thumbs up. What has an opposable thumb ever done to you outside of giving you the ability to use tools? They call it rude and hostile, even saying they feel attacked whenever they see it in the woke place. You heard me. One Gen Zer said, if I took the time to write a thoughtful message, then you shouldn't be responding with the bare minimum. Ooh, sounds like someone wants a medal for writing an email. And why not? You've gotten medals for everything else growing up. What's that saying? Hard times create strong men. Strong men create good times. Good times create weak men. And weak men have a list of emojis that make them cry. On Reddit, some were less offended by the thumbs up emoji, but felt the heart symbol was actually the most inappropriate. One said, to me, the heart is reserved for friends and family. Well, guess what? I just got a reminder email to get my hours in to get paid. So Frank in accounting is getting one. Deal with it. They also don't like the brown swirl emoji. Sounds like someone didn't get enough kisses from Mr. Hanky. I don't know, Gen Z. For a group that hates keyboards so much, you sure are a bunch of strokes.